We haven't decided anything today, but this will be on the agenda for decision for Tuesday. All right.
Next, Jake.
Bob, I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, the issue at hand was the variance and whether that's right or wrong. And all the other comments were not part of the agenda line item. But the question I have is, are we selectively deciding who can do something without a variance? Well, we gave Mary Williams carte blanche.
No.
And she hasn't done anything.
Actually, Roger's words today was they gave her a variance.
Yes.
We did, but she requested the variance.
But the variance,
She
You
came
need
in
to go back to the last meeting because you specifically multiple times said, this isn't a variance. This isn't a variance issue. I can play the tape for you, I got it.
There's nothing selective about this. If there is somebody who builds in a setback or violates some other rule that we have, they should come in ahead of time, ask permission, follow the process. If they don't, then the town needs to decide what it wants to do about a violation.
I didn't realize sidewalks.
Understand, again, I do not need a Graham County permit.
I'm not talking about that.
And I don't need a town application.
That will be your position.
Because I don't need a Graham County permit.
That will be your position.
And it's not a structure, it's a sidewalk.
Landscaping.
It's on the sidewalk or the driveway?
No, it's not a sidewalk, Jack, it's a driveway.
It's a sidewalk.
It's a driveway.
That's a sidewalk, you can't drive a car on that.
But you know what the ultimate goal here is? Jack Roche wants multifamily on the lot that he owns across the street.
No, we don't.
And everything he's done is towards getting that zone multifamily. He's built a big fancy dock. He's built this driveway from that property down to where he can get onto the dock.
Was there a pipe put in under the road?
Pardon?
Was there a pipe put under the road without it?
Yes, there was a pipe put underneath the road.
Are you accusing me of putting a pipe under the road?
I'm just asking a question.
You're aware the town put the pipe under the road, right?
Right.
It may be. I'm just asking.
Okay.
You and David Dickard put the pipe under the road.
The town bought and pays for the materials to do so.
Is that everything?
Yes. Yes.
Are you recording this now?
No. You got recorders up there, I get copies of it.
No, I'm asking about you.
No, I take your copies. I pay for them. At an extremely marked up price.
I'd like to move on. It's already been an hour and a half. Change of bank signature cards. What's this?
Yes, we will have to update all the signature cards again when the new members come.
Okay.
So we need to do that as soon as possible. I was just worried about being able to get checks signed during the holidays. I don't know if I know Jim's going to be out of town part of December. And
I have no plans to be on that.
okay.
So,
When will the new town members, council members be sworn in?
I think it is the first Monday or Tuesday in December.
Yeah.
Before the first meeting.
we have a practice that says that the assistant financial officer signs the voucher, and then the finance officer signs the checks, and that's because the state told us that they wanted the finance officer to sign the check. Is there any reason why the assistant finance officer can't sign the checks and sign the voucher?
I'm not on the signature cards.
Yeah,
That's the reason.
has to sign.
They want the separation.
Yeah, they want the separation. And that's another subject for another day, but the reality is as we move to QuickBooks and electronic transfer of money becomes the greatest percentage of our money, then the assistant finance officer doesn't see that happen before the money is transferred. So something that needs to be discussed here is, do we want to put in a policy that the money can't be transferred until the assistant finance officer signs the voucher? Right now, it just happens.
So we're still going to have the voucher?
You have to have some way for the
Yeah, well,
assistant
yeah,
finance
yeah.
officer to approve it.
Well,
My only thing would be when we're doing payroll is getting the money transferred before the payroll actually hits the account. That was one good thing with Jim is, I always knew that the money was transferred Because you may not come down until Thursday to sign the voucher, and I might need the money transferred
And I
before.
think that you could make an exception for payroll because there's a good solid record.
Well, I think what the easiest, when Kim wants money transferred to, from water or checking to the payroll account, she sends me an email. I do the transfer, then I send her back an email. All she needs to do now is carbon copy you or the assistant finance officer. You just do a simple okay on the
At the
email.
same time, yeah, that would work.
Will you,
And then she keeps copies of that we can actually have.
that'd be fine. Will you put this on the agenda then with this policy, if you want to call it that, is approved by all of us? And that'll solve the problem.
Question? Thought? I think that this should wait until the new council is seated, since there's 30 days or less until the new council gets seated. So therefore, new signatures, new names.
Oh, well, definitely, definitely
But
will.
the process wouldn't change.
But the process wouldn't
Well,
change.
why do this, have him
Well,
do the
because-
signature card now when we're not that far away from new people?
Well,
Yeah, we're not gonna redo the signature cards until y'all take office.
Okay.
Just transferring money before y'all.
We're trying to discuss the process, because the process is going to have to change when we go to the new payroll system. And we have to figure out how do we change our process so that we have the checks and balances in it that we want and that the state wants.
As a point of information though, wasn't it the audit company that requested the separation?
No.
I
No,
believe it was.
No, when the state came down, and we met with them last year.
Right.
And they were the one that told us at that time that they wanted the finance officer to be one of the signatories on the check.
Right, but the
That
assistant,
never had been before.
but the assistant ones and all that, I believe, was identified in the audit.
No.
One of the bullets.
No, it was discussed, but it was not, no, it was, we needed, always before, it was our option that said that we wanted the finance officer to sign the voucher and other people to sign the checks. So that we'd have that separation. The state came in and said they wanted this finance officer to be one of the signatories on the checks.
Right.
So therefore, we had the assistant finance officer sign the voucher.
Well, actually, up until about a month ago, we didn't have an
We
assistant.
created that when they made this request. That's when we created the
Assistant finance officer was appointed, if I recollect, after Jim took over, which would have been in July, I think. When were you appointed?
September 1st.
September, then that's when it was. Okay.
But anyway, so it was part of that process that the state initiated when they said that we had never had the finance officer sign the checks before. But they requested that that be done. We always thought it would be better to have the finance officer sign the voucher, because the voucher is the approval to write the check, theoretically. Or we're not supposed to sign, the other signatories are not supposed to sign the checks until the finance
I
officer.
thought the auditors didn't want one of them signing both the voucher and the check.
We never did that.
Never
No,
did
but
it.
is that what we're heading towards now?
No.
Okay.
No, I just said that in an emergency situation where people are out of town, could we do that?
The answer is no.
And the answer is no. So we'll have to come up with some other scheme. Okay.
Under new business.
I got something before you move to new business. Yesterday, I picked up an addendum for today, and it was an item 4. And today it's been deleted. Why did item 4 get deleted?
What was item 4?
The discussion of the election protest.
To tell everybody what's happening on voting.
Where we moved it. We didn't.
It's not on
It's
here.
not on here.
Yeah, just look at the
Closed
email.
session.
It's in the closed session.
It's in the what?
It's in the closed session. We announced that at the beginning. That we're having
No,
a
the closed session was personnel matters and alone. The question I have is the voter protest.
It's also wrong too.
Well, we'll put it under announcements.
So we will be discussing that today?
We can discuss that, yes.
Well, you're shaking your head yes, he's shaking his head no. Who's the man in charge?
The voter.
You are?
I was making an announcement. I was simply making an announcement. We added something a little bit earlier to it about the meeting tonight. Tonight, is it? Is that?
No. This is about Mr. Carlton's protest.
Well, I know, but then we'll make an announcement about the fact he protested.
Okay, and then there'll be discussion on it.
In the closed session under.
No.
No.
Mr. Mayor, will there be discussion at this meeting?
There can be discussion of the.
Thank you,
yes.
sir.
That is not.
Thank you, sir. Get out of his ear, Mr. Carlton.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor, I will not participate. We need to have that in closed session under advice from our attorney, and I thought that was very clear why it wasn't on the agenda.
This, well, I didn't say we were going to discuss it.
Well, let's make it very clear, I think, that the discussion of the protest will be held under closed session, just like the entire discussion of the original protest to the election board was held under their closed session, because you want to get advice from your attorney.
No, that's not
Excuse
true.
me.
That's not true.
That this is a personal matter, Mr. Carlton, that you're bringing up. It's not something that you need to use our attorney, town attorney, to get answers for you.
Mayor,
It doesn't matter if she's here or not.
I'm not counsel to Mr. Carlton on
Counsel to
this.
the town.
I'm counsel to the town, and I'm going to give the town some legal advice.
And should you
Should
step
Mr.
out?
Also,
Carlton
Step out.
not be in
I'm
the,
not here to advise anything on Mr. Carlton.
should he be,
Advise.
recuse himself from that
And
meeting?
leave the closed session because he won't be part of that? During that
That's a
particular.
board decision.
That's the board decision? Okay.
That's what the state
But
law is.
again,
It's a board decision.
If you put it in announcements, do we have an opportunity to
Jack,
speak
you
on
can
it
talk.
at this
Yes.
meeting?
Yes,
Will
Thank you,
yes,
sir. Thank
yes.
Use some
Yes.
diplomacy here,
Thank you, sir.
or get out.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the discussion items are 2015 Town Directory Draft.
Yes, there's a copy in everybody's packet, and we have checked on printing. And right now, the WCU print shop, which is the cheapest place for us to have this done, is covered up. So we checked, Miranda actually checked a place in Asheville, and it was going to be like $1,600 to print 200 copies. So we're going to wait and try to catch the WCU print shop, and it'll be about half that cost. And then we will also update the new council members, and they're not actually updated in the directory right now, but we will do that before we print. So y'all can just get a look at it and see. It looks really nice.
And you can check, everybody check their entry to make sure everything's
And we
right.
have tried to contact everybody in the directory to get updated information, but anybody here that wants to add anything,
When does our
Still-
next water bill go out?
the next water bill will see.
So January 1st.
So why don't
Okay,
we write
good.
a note saying that we're trying to put together a new directory?
Just
Please
as a final.
update as a final. Please
Well, we
update.
call, actually, we got a high school.
Yes, we had people, we had 2 young girls come in and they called everybody on the list, tried to contact everybody. So we have made a great effort at trying to get a hold of everybody. We left messages and, you know, we had some people that called back, we had some people that did not. But we have tried to reach out to everybody in this directory to get their correct information.
Kim, could you make one small page here and put the date of this on the cover so that everybody knows what year it is?
Yes.
Okay, next, 911 readdressing update.
We're still waiting on,
37 more signs.
Any estimate of when we're
You
going
know,
to?
I've tried, and also, they ordered the street signs that were lacking, like
Yeah.
Mosley Way and the other one, and they're supposed to be coming too.
And they're also provided free, right?
Yes, they are. And also, we've had a sign stolen, I'm assuming, that goes down Santeetlah Trail. It's gone, and I'll inform, noticed that a while ago, so I'm going to inform them where they can order some new one of those also.
Draft letter to Jack Springer of Malibu Boats. It's in your handout. The issue here, well, go ahead. Why don't you state your...
You sent this out to everybody so they'd be ready to comment. There were 2 sets of comments. John Garland wrote in and said that he thought it was fine. And then I suggested that there be a stronger closure to it where Mr. Springer be requested to come here and negotiate a set of agreements as to how they would operate. And I'm not talking about a 100-page document, I'm talking about a small letter that would have 4 or 5 things about the hours that they would operate, how far away they would stay from the shore, the speed limits near the shore, that sort of thing. So I guess you're seeking guidance on whether you want the letter to go out as it is, or if it needs a small amendment to require an action on it, that's certainly discussed by Tuesday. Do you want to weigh in on this thing? How strong should the Springer letter be? Should the both comments?
Very strong.
Okay. And Mayor, you also wanted to pay out what's the name of the agency that manages the lake?
Fish and Wildlife.
Fish and Wildlife to be at this meeting with Springer.
Well,
I thought that's what you said.
no, I think what I was suggesting, that we tell Mr. Springer that we're going to ask the Fish and Wildlife Agency to patrol the lake during the time that they're there for any potential violations.
Well, two things. Number one, there's a correction needs to be made. It was done in the first letter also. It's not our lake. So let's take the word "our" out of it. It's Lake Santeetlah. It's a public access lake. Okay? That made us look like idiots throughout Rappinsville and Graham County. Next thing.
I want you to know we're not idiots.
I said it made us look like idiots. You didn't ask anybody out there.
For the record, who told you that we were idiots?
Huh?
Who said that?
I said, in my opinion, it made us look like idiots.
In your opinion.
Okay. Sorry.
Why don't we get down to business here instead of,
Are you interrupting me?
if you like that, be okay.
Okay, well, now secondly, I think you need to contact Fish and Wildlife Resources before sending this letter, because, and you may ask your attorney this, I think you're setting this town up for a harassment lawsuit from Mr. Stringer. All of these rules that you put in, they're not rules. There is no speed limit on this lake.
I didn't say no speed limit.
You did.
I did not.
Read,
You were listening.
listen to the
I
tape.
asked that they agree to a speed limit.
There is none. That's nothing.
What
It's
number?
not there.
Just pick a
It's
number.
not there.
Agree to a speed limit.
You talking about Fish and Wildlife Resources or Spring?
No.
All I'm
does this
suggesting
have
is
to
you
be-
need to get, you might want to get in touch with Fish and Wildlife Resources.
Why does this have to be
First,
so personal? Excuse me, Jack. Why does this have to be
I follow the rules.
accusations toward the
I follow
members
the
of the
rules
board?
of Fish and Wildlife Resources as do all other people who publicly access this lake.
Okay.
And you're setting yourselves up.
Well,
You're setting our
Set
town
up.
up.
Who gives a damn?
look at at the discussion at the meeting, we may have said something about speed limits. There is nothing in this letter that says anything about speed limits.
Hold the photo shoots, hold down the speed of your boats.
Hold down the speed of the boat, yes.
Well, to
That's
what?
not a limit.
What's wrong with that?
That's not a
What
limit. I mean, you know, it's,
All I'm saying is I suggest you contact Fish and Wildlife before you send this letter.
we may want to do that. We may want to do that.
I
Thank you.
also ask that you table this letter until the new council consents.
Are y'all the directional board to give directions to us? Are we just trying to do business?
That's what's supposed to happen at these open meetings. The input from the public.
The question is, do we want to delay this anymore? We've already delayed the response to this letter considerably. The
Because the
question
new
is,
council may not stand for this information that's being said representing the town.
Mayor, right now, unless anybody
Would you announce that, Mayor?
wants it not to be on.
Excuse me here. Our attorney is going to give the correct way.
Mayor, I was just going to say that the law requires public comment at one regularly scheduled meeting.
right.
Public comment does not occur unless the board designates it, planning meetings and workshop meetings.
Right. Well, we generally run our planning meetings so people can give input to the council as we do it, and then we have the official public comment at the regular board meeting.
Limited to 5 times.
Yeah, and it's limited to those things, and there's various limitations.
No, we did away with advance notice. We don't have to request it in writing. We don't have to request it to be put on the agenda like it used to be.
I don't remember that either. We'll go over our minutes.
Okay.
Bob?
I don't want to extend this any, but it looked to me like maybe Brookfield might have input on this. They do not.
They don't know. They do not. But Fish and Wildlife actually are responsible for patrolling the lake, and we'll contact them to find out what their attitude on this is. The problem is that there was extensive damage done to boats, docks, and seawalls, the last year when they were here. And this has happened in previous years where that happened also then. And, they bring a tremendous amount of business into Graham County, a tremendous amount of revenue into Graham County. And so we really don't want to keep them from doing what they do. But at the same time, we'd like for them to use a little judgment. And most of the offenses seem to have been done by some high school kids or high school age kids that were out there running the boats without any adult supervision. And so we think that what we're looking for is a little bit more monitoring on what these kids do.
Seems like that letter addressed that.
But it might be a good idea to contact Fish and Wildlife to see what their attitude on this would be, see if they'd be willing to cooperate with us to monitor this.
Or at least inform us as to what the rules and stuff are in the lake.
In accordance with Bob's suggestion, why don't we notify Brookfield if we're going to have this meeting and invite them to come?
Okay. Meeting.
Well, if the letter amends on Tuesday to request a meeting with Springer, and that meeting is set, then it would probably be a good idea to have.
One of the decisions we have to make is whether we want to request a meeting with Springer.
Let's say if it does.
My opinion is that's for this letter, that's a little bit more. But okay. Next is the draft codification study discussion scheduled workshop.
That's in hand too, and so that would be another workshop, one on the whole codification study and one on the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to have one in December and one in January, that's fine, but we need to set dates for something.
Okay, and we'll do that at the council meeting. Okay.
Do we know when that stuff is going to become public, or?
I think once we set the date, it should become public. So if we set the date Tuesday after that, it should be handed up.
Okay.
Yeah. Audio equipment for town commission meeting, cost estimate.
I went over to Best Buy in Waynesville 2 days ago, and I talked to the guy in the TV section. He said if you put up a TV, it's going to be at least 65 inches. And I said, well, that's awfully big. So I came back and hooked up my laptop to my 60-inch, and he's right. You can't even see it 5 feet away. I looked at all kinds of projectors, the ceiling mounts, the TVs, the drop-down screens, everything. The more I looked, the more computers I got. The Geek Squad will come over here for $100, and they'll talk to us about what we want, what we need, and they'll go back and put together a proposal. That proposal, the $100, is refund, or it's applied towards the purchase of any of the equipment you need. I'm not an expert in what we do, but I would suggest spending $100 to have them come over here and be well worth it.
And the Geek Squad is a subsidiary of Best Buy, isn't it?
Yeah, they do the home theater systems and those kinds of things.
I think it's well worth $100.
Oh, yeah. And especially if we get a discount on the equipment, because we're bound to get some of that equipment from Best Buy.
So then Tuesday action item will be to authorize them to come over.
Yeah.
If you're having computer issues, would they be the ones, and you're not happy with the people who are doing this now, would they be ones that you might want to talk to at the same time about that? I'm not.
The only problem with having them do, the ladies calling in, have been calling in Jack Stewart. He was doing the work for us, and he was coming in, what, 2 or 3 times a month?
Yeah.
If they come all the way from Waynesville, they're going to charge you for the mileage. I'd like to find somebody local, but We might ask them while they're here.
I was gonna say, while they're here, maybe they can verify what we're being told as far as equipment needs.
Status of quote from HMC paving for road repairs on Lakeside and Santeetlah Point.
I've tried to call him at least a half a dozen times. I've left him messages every time I contact him, no reply. I don't know what else to do, he won't answer my call.
Okay,
The
so,
only time I did get in touch with him, he said he had been working of the nighttime in Franklin, and he said he would be here that following Friday or the weekend. We didn't see him, he wasn't here, haven't heard anything
so
else.
they're just buried right now.
Should we contact other paving companies?
That's up to y'all, be glad to do it if y'all want to.
We've had some bad experience with other paving companies,
But if we can't get a response, we need to get some.
well,
prices.
continue to try it again. Let's see, maybe by Tuesday you can get in touch with somebody.
And so Tuesday we'll get a report on maybe another company or something?
Yeah.
Discussion of ARP grant for downtown master plan.
Tomorrow I'll kick this off.
Okay.
To you.
Okay, go ahead.
This may take a couple of minutes, forgive me, but the town council, as you said during the candidate forum, has been dealing with some type of downtown master plan for a long time. And over 4 or 5 months of discussion, we decided to submit a grant to the Appalachian Regional Commission for about $15,000 to do such a plan. And it's part of a $200,000 allocation that comes to Green County as a result of our difficult economic status here. And the application has been submitted. There was quite a bit of consternation, as you know, over this after the application was submitted. And I want to read a couple things into the record just to show that this is not new. These are minutes from the March 18th, 2008 meeting, 8 years ago.
Just a moment. You're reading it into the minute.
No, not minutes, I'm sorry.
But in the record.
Just so
there
you
is
know.
no record of today's meeting.
Forgive me, I'll just read them, and I may do it again on Tuesday. During those minutes, there were 2 items related to this March 18th, 2008. And I'll just read one sentence of it, and I'll make these available. I think we already have them here anyway. Council requested stipulation in construction plan to prohibit contractors parking at Town Hall during construction. This had to do with the granting of an easement through Town Hall parking lot. But also that easement that was granted was to allow people to pass through Town Hall parking lot to the west and then go down a permanent road to be built that cut through this house that's right next to Town Hall, because that house would be demolished, and then down to the lower road. The purpose of that was to allow Mr. Rosado to build a project that would permanently close the lower road here to be an open plaza for his restaurant and a general store called Canoe Club. This is right out of the minutes. Arthur Griffith asked if the easement exchange property the town is receiving from Jose Rosado prohibits future building plans from Jose. I'm not sure what that means, but I mean, Arthur commented on it in 2008.
Could you repeat that again, please?
Arthur Griffith asked if the easement exchange property the town is receiving from Jose Rosado prohibits future building plans from Jose. That's verbatim. I don't know what that means, but it meant Arthur Griffith was involved, although he wasn't on the council at the time. Some more. This is April 15th, 2008.
I don't understand what that has to do with the ARC.
Because I'm going to come to a recommendation to this council to determine.
That's a relevant point.
But wait till it's through. Wait till it's through.
Why don't you just listen, okay? Because this may be going where you want it to go. Why don't you just listen?
That'll be the first thing.
All right, this is from April 15th, 2008. Santeetlah Lakeside. Mayor Crabtree will obtain clarification from Jose Rosado concerning future building on the green space presented in the easement exchange. The green space is where the road goes today below Town Hall, which was to be permanently closed and turned into a little park that would serve the public as well as the people who were going to the Canoe Club project. A little more. No, I won't read this because it's related more to the cutting down of trees by Mr. Gross, so I won't read that. Discussion period. Just to...
2008.
I'll read that.
2009 probably.
No, this was 2008. All right, now let me go
Well,
on.
let me ask a question. Was the easement ever granted?
Yes.
No.
Excuse me.
Okay, so the easement will be recorded at...
The easement is recorded, and I have it right here, and I'll show it to you in a minute. You need to hear all this, everybody, because people seem to forget history, and minutes disappear, but these are minutes and a recorded easement. I'll read from it. For some reason, it's called a temporary construction easement, which it is not, because the attachments are the permanent easement, and there's language in here that makes this a permanent easement. Whereas a portion of the new roadway to be constructed is located on the above described lands of the town. That's the parking lot. And as part of the road construction, certain modifications will be done to the town parking lot. And as part of the new road construction, and after the road construction, it may be necessary to place fill over and close to the existing roadway at the point where the new roadway enters the existing roadway. The new roadway starts at the, I guess you call it, west end of the parking lot, and is cut all the way down through this house that goes away to the new road. That's what this says. Go on. By the way, if anybody questions it, there's the registration number of this easement.
Who registered with who?
With the Register of Deeds.
Okay.
I'll get a copy of
If a
that.
project is not started, is there within a certain period of
Sir,
time?
if you'll just wait
that-
till I finish, I think this is going to go where you want it.
Okay, but I'm asking a question. I'm
Can
just
you
saying.
hold it till
is-
I finish it? Please hold
Sir,
it.
yeah.
Okay. I just wanted you to
By the time
understand.
you're finished, I'll forgot about it.
This is, I'm not going to read a whole long paragraph here, but it basically says the town hereby grants the Ibex and Santeetlah properties a temporary construction easement. I'm skipping a little bit. Modifying the town parking lot and placing fill over the existing roadway at the point where the new roadway enters the existing roadway as shown in Exhibit B. And I have Exhibit B here. And what Exhibit B is an actual easement for this new permanent road, not temporary. The town also hereby grants the Ibex and Santeetlah properties a temporary construction easement for the closing of the existing roadway, that's the lower roadway, at the point where the new roadway enters the existing roadway as may be necessary during and after the construction of the new roadway. During and after. After completion of the new roadway, Ibex and Santeetlah Point property shall provide to the town an as-built plat of survey illustrating the new roadway and the existing roadway to be abandoned by the town. After providing the town with said new plat of survey, providing that all parties are in compliance and have performed as set out in the agreement, the parties hereto shall execute the final documents necessary to accomplish the exchange of easements. That's the first piece. Okay, and here it is, signed by all the county officials. This thing was taken by our attorney at the time, Mac Talent, I believe, who not only represented the town, but also represented Mr. Rosado. And it was filed. And here's the agreement for exchange of easements. Whereas Santeetlah property desires to convey to the town an easement for a street that will travel from the lands of the town in a southwesterly direction across the middle of the lands of Santeetlah properties and connect to the existing street at or before the western boundary of the lands of Santeetlah properties. Said proposed easement and street being shown on Exhibit A. I'll pass Exhibit A around in a minute.
Was the date on that?
The date on this, 19th day of July 2007.
So we're going backwards.
Okay, it's the way the document shall be
We started
borne.
in 2008.
Talks about costs for utility relocation, including construction of the new street, shall be borne by IBEX. Let's see. The town's release of this easement shall be contingent upon and not effective until the street has been constructed along the new easement described above, and at which point said released easement shall be obsolete and of no value. That doesn't mean, that means once the road is done, the new road, that the temporary easement is gone. Now, this is interesting. The new street along the new easement shall have a minimum paved width of 10 feet. A 10-foot road is not a two-way road. A 10-foot road is a one-way road, okay? And what that means is, it's never described in here, never discussed, it's certainly not in the minutes of the town council, that the previous council approved a one-way road through this parking lot and either up or down from the remaining road that goes by your house and Mr. Carter, I think his house is, and one other individual, keeps on going. This agreement is contingent upon IBEX and/or Santeetlah Properties obtaining any necessary slope, grading, or other easements that may be required for the street construction from the lands owned now by Arthur Griffith, located to the north of the lands of the town and Santeetlah Properties, although no such easements are expected to be required at this time. So here's where I'm going with this, but I think it's important for everybody to understand. There was huge consternation over this, as if it were brand new news. The bottom line is that previous town council approved giving away rights through our parking lot, okay, with no compensation whatsoever, with a plan for a one-way road without knowing which way it was going to go, in exchange for what nothing except to do this. So here's where I'm at, and this is new information that was not available certainly when we submitted the application, okay? I think that this is of such enormous magnitude to a downtown master plan that there is no way that we'll be able to fix the current application in time this year. And I would ask that this application be tabled till this matter can be further discussed, till we can investigate through our attorney whether this easement is rescindable. Okay? Because I don't know if it is, but I think our attorney should be requested to review that. It's been 8 years. Jose's taken no action whatsoever on this project. It's been represented to me that he actually sold this property, but the court records do not show a new owner. That all ties into a representation that some of the capacity of the sewer plant that he was allowed to build would be used by Canoe Club, okay, which, you know, needs to be checked into. So my recommendation is that this application be tabled, that we so notify the ARC that we have new information, and that the new council, whatever it may be, can deal with this before the next cycle if they wish. And that's what I'll put on the table for formal closure. Now, if anybody doesn't like that, tell me.
I remember the discussions of the easement, but I was never aware that the easement was ever invoked. There was tremendous opposition to it at the time.
I don't ever remember it being approved in the meeting.
I don't remember
It wasn't.
hearing about
It
that.
wasn't.
It wasn't. Mac Talent did what Mac Talent does, and he represented both sides of the party. And he took whatever discussion is in the minutes By the way, these minutes never used to say who voted for anything. Nothing in here about who put a motion, who seconded, who voted. And down it went to the county, and it is a matter of record today. So that's the kind of transparency that used to be here. It's changed now, and we certainly have open discussions. So at the end of the day, Mayor, that's my recommendation, that we defer this, and if somebody feels differently, I'm say that.
The only thing I'm saying is say Arthur Griffin used to own the property, North Griffin don't own the property no more, it's much better. That's the only problem.
Well, I understand, but this was at the time.
And the plan was, you still having this little pink house, that is going to plan to go the road, but it's to be open road, nothing to be closed. I remember that we talked about that in person, no?
Well, I think there's, as she said, she has inherited the
Or
property.
if they own to the property, have to remember he passed away.
One more point of information, if in fact the 10-foot wide road is a one-way road, we need to get a whole bunch more signs in here. My entire area is all 10-foot wide.
He may be right in the fact that a 10-foot road is a one-way road, but we use them as two-way roads all through the town. So the fact that that's a 10-foot road doesn't bother me at all.
It bothers me as a resident of Santeetlah.
Well, this road down here, which was a two-way road, which it was replacing, is a 10-foot road.
Are you sure that?
I'm just making the point.
Well, what happens is, this is why people need to know what's going on here with this. If that is a one-way road going down, and the lower road is closed, that means that the only way out for the residents and for visitors and everybody else would be through Lakeside, which are not public streets yet, as you know, which is a matter that needs to be resolved. If it's a one-way road going uphill, then they still have to come in through Lakeside. And there's a lot to do on this, which is why I'm recommending deferral, and none of this information was known when that application was submitted.
Okay.
I think that this whole ARC grant should be, you should call them and tell them, forget about all of it.
That's what
You're
he's
not
proposing.
going
That's
forward
what I'm
with it.
proposing for Tuesday, though. We can't settle it today.
So you're not just tabling it, you're canceling the grant?
It should be canceled, not
You
tabled.
withdrawn.
Okay, withdrawn.
That's what I'm
Table
putting
is
on the
different than
table.
withdrawn.
Okay, well, you said you were going to ask them for it to be tabled,
Yeah.
And let
which
the
could be
new
brought
council-
back.
Well,
Discussion by the town council.
Yeah.
They can decide next year before the cycle if they want to submit or not. But
Okay.
ARC would get notified if that's what you do on Tuesday, that this application is withdrawn.
Okay, that part was missing.
I've got a question. It's a small question. That easement, was a permit applied for and gotten for that easement? No,
Permit.
What do you, I'm sorry, you mean what kind of permit?
For the road.
for the road.
The easement is a matter of record today.
I understand. I'm asking, was a permit applied for?
You mean to build the project?
Yeah,
No, it is not.
it was never applied for.
No. That's why we need legal advice to see whether this easement is still in place. There's no deadline for building in the easement. It doesn't say that this easement is rescinded if it isn't started in 2 years or 5 years. It doesn't say that.
That was
That's
my
why we
question.
need
That,
legal
you know, there's a longevity of certain things if they're not acted on, especially.
We'll find that
We'll
out.
find that out by Tuesday, hopefully.
The one issue about the easement is that it's between the town and IBEX, which is now a defunct corporation.
Right.
And I don't know if that has any effect.
It's not, it's not. It's between IBEX and another company. I'm sorry, it's between the town and another company. IBEX is mentioned in there, but the easement is granted to the company that owns that piece of property. I can find it.
Is it still an active corporation?
We'll find out.
I don't think so, did. I don't think
But it runs with the land. Once you file it, it runs with the land, not with the company.
It seems like after a period of time, if the party who you granted the easement to has not utilized that easement for anything, that it can be withdrawn.
That's why we have.
It seems like that would make sense, but who knows? Okay, discussion of solution to Frontier Internet and phone outages. I believe that we're going to contact.
We're working on it.
Okay. Various people.
So that'll be either on
Maybe
Tuesday
we'll have
or-
some, maybe we'll have something on for Tuesday. Leaf cleanup on Lakeside.
This issue then goes to whether or not the contract that we have today to blow leaves a couple times also covers Lakeside. And and for the record, everybody knows that I live in Lakeside. But right now, Scott Camps and what's his name, who does it, Ray, who does the leaf blowing, do not have direction to blow leaves in Lakeside, and they don't. So the issue is, since Lakeside, our taxpayers, some 15% of our entire tax base, is it fair, even though we don't own the roads, to go in and blow those leaves at the same time the rest of the town is blowing?
Well, the fact is we don't own the roads.
But why would that stop us from doing it?
Well, I mean, you know, in the past, the agreement with us and Jose always was that they'd take care, the homeowners association would take care of all of the work in Santeetlah Lakeside, and the town would take care of the rest of the town. And
there is no homeowners.
I understand. I mean, everything is defunct. So I think we have to decide what we want the rules to be now.
That's
and
why it's on.
That's right.
So it's on for Tuesday to make a decision.
Scott Camps cleaned up the roads on Cherokee Trail. He raked all the leaves out into the middle of the road and then vacuumed them up. But he didn't come up on Black Bear Trail.
Yes, he did.
He didn't come down in the Santeetlah terrace area.
The story that Scott Camps tells is that they cleaned it up and then it rained, and after the rain, you couldn't tell they'd ever been there. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not.
I know for a fact that it comes down in my area. I've been personal responsibility, I've maintained my area.
And also all the leaves he blew down from Thunderbird, he blew them down onto Santeetlah.
Whatever that one-way road
whatever
is.
that is. He blew them all down on there, so. And that's where they still sit today.
Can you talk with Scott and get some explanation?
Yeah.
You know, I had him blow my driveway, and 15 minutes later, the wind picked up, and it was like he was down there.
Exactly, and that's what
I've done my area 3 or 4 times. You know?
that was what he said about this.
He's got a lot of integrity.
Suicide Hill too. Was, you know, he said they cleaned it off, and then the rains came, and after they were through, it looked just like it did before.
Well, maybe Scott needs to be invited to come by.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of the stuff isn't being vacuumed, it's just being blown over the bank.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
And I do believe that since Lakeside does not, we do not own Lakeside's roads, I don't think we should employ, pay for, or how you want to contract with anybody to do the leaf taken away. They're not our roads.
That's one side,
It should be
what we
our
look at,
roads.
and I tend to agree with you on that, but there is also the side that says they're taxpayers, and they're paying this, a good share of the taxes of the town, and they should be entitled to some services.
But we may get in trouble spending
tax
dollars on private property.
And we may,
And Mr. Rosado may granted a permission to do 2 things, because this leaf blowing also goes for snow plowing. And if he were to say, it's okay, go ahead and do it, because he's still the managing partner, that would cover us from
If he
risk.
pays for it,
We are paying for it.
he pays for it, with honor.
okay,
Interesting.
All I'm saying is private property may have an issue.
Whether the private person that owns the
I don't
property
know.
is commissioner.
next item is report of past water collection.
So,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You've done all the work. You and Emily.
I'll just pass the numbers over to you.
To date, we've collected $6,968.47 in past due water bills.
How much did you mail out yesterday or Tuesday?
8,000 more yesterday. And these, the ones that went out yesterday are telling them that the water will be turned off here in the next week.
And did you include our former employee in that list?
Included everybody who had responded to the first letter. That's about 14 kilometers.
What form of employee are you talking about?
I'm sorry,
What, give a name to that form?
Mr. Dicker.
Status report of parking variance filing.
We filed the variances that we had and we mailed out to, and I've got a response from one. So they are having it notarized and sending it back.
And we decided that if they didn't respond, then their variance was canceled.
Right.
Okay.
Sales tax distribution from NC State, North Carolina, that's what you already talked about earlier, right?
Well, briefly, it looks like we're getting about 2,000 more a month from this new sales tax distribution than we were getting last year, so that's going to add about 16,000 additional dollars to our coffers between now and the end of the fiscal year.
And was that because, I mean, there was some debate earlier this year about they were going to change the way that the allocation for sales tax, and did they change that?
Yes, they
They
did.
did, and that's why we're getting more.
Yes, I talked to the guy from the state this morning, and the amount changed, the percentage.
Okay.
that we-
And I know one of the bills that they were looking at would have essentially eliminated our sales tax. I mean, refund, because it's going to be by proportion of population or whatever it was, so that would have killed it.
This was on our agenda about 6 or 8 months ago as a kind of heads up.
Yeah.
And we, I believe, at that time contacted our state rep and said, don't hurt us.
Yeah.
And it ended up the other way around.
Yeah.
We had a lot more money.
Report of tax collection, liens.
I really don't have anything else to report on that. Like I said earlier, a lot of the county employees are in training this week. We've only got one other check since the last meeting, so.
So you're talking about the property taxes that have been paid this year.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, our 2-year deal with the county runs out June 30th. But I think y'all should put on the agenda for January the pros and cons of this, maybe February, because then the cycle will be over.
Yeah, well, we'll go through, we'll want to discuss it after another collection point. Yeah.
It'll be probably February or March.
When does the county file the tax liens?
Pardon?
When does the county file tax liens?
At any time. They don't have to do it at a specific time.
Well, it has to be after the due date of the tax.
Unless they're real old, which a lot of them are. There's a lot of these that haven't been paid in years.
Is the county going back on that? I don't think
They go back certain years.
They can go back a certain period of
Yeah,
time.
but I didn't think neither they nor we had the records for that.
We've given them whatever records we have.
Okay. But again, I think there's a date, like if they were due in August, the tax liens don't get filed for a month or two after.
Well, the taxes are not actually delinquent until January.
Okay, that was my question. I thought everybody told me up here they were delinquent.
Okay, easement through town parking lot for canoe club. I know we've already discussed that, so. Okay, announcements. We'll have a land use plan workshop today at 1:30. You all are invited. Town hall will be closed Wednesday, November the 11th, or Veterans Day, that was yesterday. Council meeting, November the 17th, planning meeting, December the 10th, council meeting, December the 15th. There's also a meeting tonight. Yeah, right. There's also a meeting tonight at the Graham County Community Center, or the Robbinsville Community Center, whatever it is. Again, who knows about that?
Involving the Forest Service taking over a large chunk of land out here, going all the way up as far as Snowbird and down in, from what I'm hearing from Raymond, it will have a devastating effect on Graham County, and it will have an effect here, putting a lot more restrictions within our town limits also.
Who can go to represent the town? Because these meetings generally have a record created, which becomes part of a court case if that ever occurs. Somebody from the town needs to go tonight.
Are you available to go to?
I'm available.
Okay. Maybe you and I will go.
Okay.
I'll keep the seat warm.
Yeah, we'll be here.
You'll be there.
And they're gonna start a petition and a lot of things, so it is
Okay, well,
important- it is important for the tax to be done.
the big blow is going to be the Graham County is gonna lose a lot of tax revenue.
And where's the location?
And again, according to Raymond, it may well put a lot of restrictions on this community.
Like what kind of restrictions?
He hasn't told me that yet. We had a short conversation, but he said it's important to be there at the beginning.
So let's give a little guidance.
I understand. Is it here?
Is it everybody's
Is it
position
the courthouse?
that
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to take because we haven't seen the proposal, but it seems to me we don't want to lose any tax revenue. We don't want the Forest Service to come in with additional restrictions. I mean, so just generally, you all who are going need to look at it and decide whether you want to, should say something in the record so they know that we're there.
I can't imagine what, I can understand that we'll lose tax revenues, we can make gains in PILT payments, but we'll lose, the county will lose tax revenues. But the real question is what sort of...
This first information, or this first meeting will probably mostly be informational. But it's good to get it firsthand.
I don't believe they're taking more of the tax-based. I think they're just redesignating certain areas as wilderness versus Forest Service, which may affect rules, but I don't think they're actually taking any more tax-based. It's already not tax-based because it's Forest Service land. They're just redesignating it, if I'm not mistaken. But
I was told
we'll find
it was
out.
more of a taking than a redesignation.
Well, I also know Raymond does not like Forest Service at all. So.
Okay. Are there any other announcements?
The protest?
Yeah, you said you were going to talk about the voter protest.
Oh, yes. The voter protest was filed with the commission protesting the eligibility of three of the members on the voting on the ballot, and it was rejected, and the election was certified, as I understand.
Right.
But there's another hearing December the 5th.
The protest is going forward, and this may cost the town a substantial amount of money.
The protest may or may not go forward, and we will discuss with our lawyer in closed session the various merits of that. I'm very much aware of what this might cost the town, but we need to have a discussion with our lawyer because you are right. The state law says that the administrative costs of a protest and the general running of the election are paid by the town. So if we have a discussion with our lawyer, I may continue to protest or I may not. So we'll see.
Okay.
And then remember, there are minutes taken of closed sessions which, when a matter is completed, whatever that is, become public record.
I'll get minutes of this one.
Roger.
Count on it.
I just have a simple question. I think the protest was done by an individual, not done by the town.
Right.
So should the town pay for an individual?
Well, this is the way it's always worked,
The way the law works.
and that's the way the law works. And if you think, or if you have a place, say, out on High Splendor, you own a house on High Splendor, should you really be asked to pay for a contest of somebody complaining about an election in the town of Lake Santeetlah? Your tax money shouldn't be going for that. So if therefore should be coming out of the town where the thing occurred.
That's the theory.
That's a justification.
But if that resident of High Splendor is alleging they're a resident of this county, that's the other side of it.
But Ellen's being paid for this closed session, am I right?
Ellen's here for more than one matter, so there's no additional cost.
Okay,
I have-
exactly. Okay. Okay. Would you make a motion to add to the agenda?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we add item 15 to the agenda, and that is the motion that we go into closed session to discuss.
Before that motion is voted on and stuff, I have to ask this question. For this protest thing that's going to be discussed, should or should not Mr. Carlton recuse himself from that? As he
Mayor,
didn't file
that's a
it.
board decision. We need a motion first to go into closed session.
Okay, so can I have a second on that motion?
No, you need to read the motion, it's down there. Or
Oh,
ask for
this-
someone to give you ask for the motion.
Okay, I thought the motion was made and then the result.
You gotta
of it-
read this.
Okay, I will
I
freeze
think
it.
what happened is you amended your agenda at item 15, which is a
We
closed
haven't done that
session.
yet, though. There was a motion to do that.
Okay, all
And
right, sorry.
so, can I have a second on that amendment?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay, then pursuant to the provisions of North Carolina General
You would
Statute.
ask for someone to give them a,
Hmm?
you would ask for a
One of the
motion,
members
and
has
maybe
to
Mr. Hager could read that.
Okay.
Pursuant to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A, 3 and 143-318.11C, I move that the council for the town of Lake Santeetlah go into closed session and receive advice from M. Ellen Davis, attorney for the town of Lake Santeetlah, which advice comes within the purview of the county attorney-client privilege. The advice will be general legal advice that legal issues or legal matters and will not be advice or discussions pertaining to a particular opinion or lawsuit.
Can I have a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we'll go into closed session.
Now, the question as to whether or not he should recuse himself in the protest matter discussion? Coming forward?
We'll cover that in the
Are you
closed
doing
session.
a closed session now?
Are we on whether you're going to allow him or?
It'll be in the minutes,
Yeah, be in there.
which are produced within our week.
Okay.